This one's heavy, y'all. This one's heavy. How many of y'all watching have kids? How many of those kids have access to phones, tablets, online gaming, social media? If that's you, you're going to want to stick around and watch this. If you're new to the channel, my name's David, and I'm a firm believer in Christ. And with that, I'm doing everything I can to help advance the kingdom, whether that's sharing videos to help people build their faiths up or sharing stuff that helps people be more aware of the spiritual battles that we're dealing with on a daily. So with that being said, let's get into it. So Jack Hibbs, once again, he's interviewing Chris McKenna, who's well versed on this whole subject area of kids being online, all the dangers they're facing, just having all that access to so much information and so many people online who don't have the best intentions for your kids, right? So let's check this out.
And that was to do math.
Yeah.
And now this device that we have here, I mean, yeah, I can talk to my mom on FaceTime, I can keep in touch with my brother in Japan, but I can also go to Pornhub. I mean, the fact that so much power is right here, that's what we're handing to our kids.
Right. But Chris, not my kid. My kid has a phone. I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about you, hypothetically. My kid has a phone, I have a couple of safety features on it. He's good, plus he's a good kid. He would never get involved in that kind of stuff. What would you say to the parent, and let's be honest, the Christian community.
I mean, how many of us feel like that? How many of us feel like I trust my kids? I know my kids would never do that, right? And can we go back and think when we were kids, right? The stuff that we hid from our parents, right? Maybe not living right, maybe making bad choices, right? And being too afraid to tell our parents. Just think about that.
Sometimes is very guilty of, not my child, it's
right.
your child, but not my child. Well, that's denial, but you want to be very careful, and yet at the same time, you don't want to be like some sort of a Nazi cop over your child's life. But if you love them, you want to protect them. I'm guessing most people don't realize the dangers that are on the other side. Yeah. Who is actually going after our grandkids and children? Can they really access my kid's iPod or iPad or cell phone? Is that really happening for real?
Yeah, it's not a matter of good or bad kids. I tell my boys this all the time, right? That I don't not trust you. You've proven yourself trustworthy. I don't trust the fact that I just put 100 million people in your pocket and what might happen to them. So it's not an issue of good or bad kids.
Yeah.
We gotta remember, these are algorithms. Everything that our children love to do online has a different goal than you do. Every single digital space.
He's going to get into more of specifics of what's really going on, but I want you to think about that, right? When you give a child a phone or access to online gaming or whatever it is, if you're not watching them, just imagine not only are you giving your kid access to billions of people, but you're giving billions of people access to your kids. Think about that.
And I know we use YouTube in order to fix things in our house, but YouTube does not have the same goals for your child that you do.
Yeah.
And just because it says YouTube Kids doesn't mean that it's okay for kids. I don't care if it says YouTube Preschool. I'm not going to give it to my child.
Right on.
Right? At the end of the day, it has a different goal. You can take YouTube Kids, just as an example, which sounds pretty innocent. Hey, it's for kids. They made it for kids. Hand it to a kid. You can put YouTube Kids on the lowest setting, because I have to do this for my son, Grant, who has the body and the curiosity of a 16-year-old, but the stopping cues of a 5-year-old with Down syndrome, okay? So I have to protect him from his own vulnerabilities and his own curiosities. If you take YouTube Kids and put it down to the lowest setting, which is like age 2, you can still get content related to gender and identity and all kinds of content on YouTube Kids. What you're essentially saying with YouTube is, if you don't screen the content, you're trusting Google with the heart of your child. I
mean, think about that. A 2-year-old, and you're exposing him or her to all the gender confusion stuff that's going on, right? Are you a male or are you a female or are you both? Whatever it is, but being that young, right? 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old. And just like he's saying, you're leaving that trust up to Google, right? Whoever's making these algorithms, whoever's running these companies, right? A board of people running them, you're trusting them, right? And what's their belief system, right? What values do they have, right? And honestly, they're not even going based off of their values, right? What they're trying to do is they're trying to put videos to people who want to watch them, whether that's kids coming across a bad video and wanting to watch more of that. They're going to feed them more of that, right? That's what the algorithm does. It's going to put videos in the place of whatever person is trying to watch that video, and then it starts feeding them more and more of that video, right? So if you're not screening, like he's saying, what your kids are watching, and you're not on top of that, it's so easily they can fall into this trap, right? So we're gonna continue on, and he's gonna get more detailed on what's really going on, right?
Okay. Well, first I'll start off. How many of you are familiar with the gaming platform Roblox? There's all the hands that we were looking for. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good. It's important to understand Roblox, and I'll get to that in just a minute. So 764, back in February, the FBI put out a note about this organization, literally a terrorist organization, so it's been labeled as such. Years ago, a 15-year-old dropout, Bradley Chance Caden Hall, from his room, started putting out just horribly violent content and drew to him a bunch of other young men who were just mad at the world, and so they started 764. What that means is that's the zip code in Texas where Bradley was from. He lived in 76401, and so they shortened it to call the group 764. And they've been labeled by the FBI as nihilistic violent extremists. So I'm guessing that some of you have probably heard of sexual exploitation, where maybe you convince somebody, a young child.
They're also labeled as a tier one terrorist organization. Keep in mind that he said young men, but some of these are kids as young as 13, 14, maybe even younger than that. So keep that in mind.
Or a teenager to send something explicit, and then they use that to extort and coerce. This is radically different. This is sadistic exploitation that goes through the door of sexual exploitation. So what do is you convince a young girl, and it's a lot of teen girls who are most vulnerable to this, is you find somebody who's lonely online, who's expressing all kinds of just distress about the world, and they're looking for someone to trust, someone to pour into, just like you were saying, right? And they develop some trust. It could be through a game, it could be through social media, whatever it is. When it comes to the recruiting of others into 764, it's often through gaming platforms like Roblox, like Minecraft, and like Steam, because that's where a lot of young men hang out. Then when it comes to the exploitation, it comes through social media to find some of these lonely teenagers who they can develop trust with. And after they convince a young person to send something compromising, then they will use that to extort them to commit violent acts that they video and then send out among this global network of others in 764. Sadistic acts towards animals and cruelty to siblings and all kinds of horrible. It's all about violence, nihilism, just extreme acts. Why? Just for the joy of chaos.
I mean, that's tough to hear, right? It's demonic, satanic. There's no other way around that. Like, and I just want you to imagine the weight that a 12-year-old must feel that's caught up in this, right? And that's living this life where they're being forced to do things online in front of a camera because they've been manipulated by somebody, right? And they fear, what their fear is, if they don't, that that person knows where they live. They have my address, right? They'll come, they're gonna harm my parents, they're gonna come to my school, they have all my information, right? Imagine all that weight on that 12-year-old just living every day, and the parents not even knowing that this is going on. And this is going on all across the world, all across our country, across the world. There's so many cases. If you Google it, there's cases upon cases of this happening, right? Just so many gruesome pictures and videos that are being sold online, and it's crazy that, you know, a lot of people are aware of this, but a lot of people, they're not aware of it. They're sleeping, they're not paying attention, right? So it's just something that we just, as a parent, as someone who has kids in your life, you got to be aware of this. You got to be aware of it.
And they capture all this on video and then they share it across this network. And this is happening.
He's being very he's being very nice to you right now.
Yeah.
Because if you thought the worst possible thoughts, where you have this girl in your traps, because you've got her trapped, because if she doesn't do what you say,
Yeah.
you're going to show these photos to the world. She'll either choose suicide or obedience. If she obeys them out of fear, which that's what they do. The things that were on Sean Ryan's show is that they would ask, do you have a dog or a cat? We have a dog.
Yeah.
And it's the family pet.
Yep.
So here's what we want you to do. We want you to slit his throat.
Yep. Yep.
And make sure we see this on film.
That's right. Record.
I'm not making it up.
That's right.
But yeah, we want to record it. You have to do.
Harsh. I know this sounds harsh, but this is the reality that people are living. This is the reality that kids are living and children are going through right now, today.
I don't want to do that. She starts crying. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Well, if you don't do that, then we're going to put your picture out to 100 million people. So you pick.
Yeah.
So now that killed the dog or suicide. You see where this is going?
Yeah.
And things worse than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real words. So he was referencing the Sean Ryan podcast, right? And this is the one where Sean Ryan interviews Ryan Montgomery. I think this was a few months back. So if you get a chance, you can go on Sean Ryan and check it out. But it gets real. It's hard, man. It's a hard listen, but I feel like it's important. I'm just gonna show you one clip from there. So.
Out, they can, any child can join this, and I have photos of it so you can see.
This is on the most popular kids game in the fucking world.
Yes. So here's some screenshots of Roblox. If you join my Discord server, you'll see real CP. That's just one. Swat us, we dare you. You're based in your mother's basement, but look at that.
Look at that. These are real screenshots from Roblox, right? See what he's wearing. I mean, and to say it's not satanic. I mean, how can you say that, right? If you look at their logo, like it's all demonic. It's all demonic.
Yep.
Yeah, there is another
Pentagram.
one. Yep. The Roblox in-game chat references Twist Sexual Fantasy 764 and the Age of Young Gamer. So if you look in there, join / that name, that's a very popular group for the comm.
So they don't even hide. They don't even hide.
Comm girl on cam / where the comm girl's at. Comm girl meaning like a girl.
They're telling you what they're gonna do before they do it.
Well, not all the time. Sometimes they lure them straight in here and they don't. In this case, they're straight up saying where to go watch it. And this is in game.
That's crazy. So one of the groups that we're talking about, 764, and it's a group that's been around for a long time, right? And they're still spreading, even though they've arrested a lot of the people. It's something that's not like, it's just, it's so massive, right? People joining daily, it's people trading daily and just extorting children daily, right? So this guy is going to tell a little bit about it. This is Crichton's page. Get a chance, you can check it out. I'll put a link in the description.
In early 2021, Bradley, quote, stopped caring about anything, and he reached a breaking point. He had completely withdrawn from society by this time, and his only human interactions were these toxic echo chamber chat rooms with other depressed and nihilistic teenagers. He hadn't been attending school in person for a while now, but January 2021 is when he officially dropped out of high school. Within 1 month, he had started the 764 Discord. The following events were all part of a carefully arranged plan by Bradley. He brought along all of his philosophies and the stuff he learned in the cult server, but this time, he was the leader who had all of the control. Going by the username Felix, he started setting up the server and adding a few of his friends, and then, just a short while later, 764 was officially operational. The name was based on his zip code, as
I mean, look at that. That's the logo right there, right? That's the logo. So, man, we got to understand that we're not in a battle against flesh, right? Just like the Bible says, it's a spiritual battle out there, and stuff like this is proof, right? If stuff like this don't wake people up to the spiritual warfare that we're going on, that we're battling daily, then I mean, some people may never wake up, right? Some people may never wake up, but it's around us and it's real, right? The devil is real and the evil is out there. So we got to be aware of this stuff.
were the first 3 numbers in his hometown of Stephenville, Texas. The logo featured this number, along with some other symbols related to Satanism. It didn't look like much at the time, but this server was about to become one of the fastest growing online threats in the world.
So we're going to check out a little bit how they operate and some of the stuff they do, right? It's not going to get too gruesome or too detailed because it does get ugly, right? So we're just going to check it out.
Level 6. Potential Escape. After suffering through the first few levels of the cult, some users would try to leave, but escaping 764 was exceptionally difficult. You couldn't just decide to leave the server one day because they would fight back and they would go ahead and deploy all the leverage they had built up against you. For example, one mother disconnected her daughter from the internet because she found out she was covered in cuts and she had heard her talking to 764 members while in the bathtub. It had escalated to the point where the mother said, "If I had not been at the bathroom door, I have no doubt I would have lost my daughter." After she cut off her teen's contact with 764 though, she discovered firsthand what happens to people who try to escape the network. CP images of her were instantly released. The principal at the girl's middle school was harassed several times, and phone calls mentioned how the girl had strangled cats and harmed herself. 764 also reported a false emergency event at her residence, which caused a SWAT team to raid their house. This is the type of stuff that any potential escapee would have to endure, and for many, this kept them trapped inside.
So they feel like there's no escaping. How can a child feel like, you know, leaving or stopping or getting out of this lifestyle or running to tell their parents when these are the consequences that they're gonna face, right? This is what they're telling them. If you go and tell somebody, we're gonna kill you. If you log off, if you step away, if we don't hear from you tomorrow, then we're gonna come. We're gonna find you. We have your address, right? They're hacking into your system. We have your address. We know what school you go to. They're harassing the kids' principals at their schools. I mean, this is crazy, right? And it doesn't have to happen to everybody, right? This happens because kids are online and kids are vulnerable, right? They're online, they're talking to people, they think they're making friends, but really it's this evil that's out there, right? It's this evil that's out there and it's trying to grab the kids and corrupt them and do as much damage as they can. That's what their goal is. Their goal is they're sadistic. They just want to harm people. They want violence, they want to harm people. What the Bible says, the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. That's exactly what they're trying to do. So we'll go through one more video.
Level 7. Satanism. This is the edgy branding layer that is always present in all of the levels, but it's also being ordered at level 7 because it has inspired violent crime. Satanism is one of the things that was carried forward from the cult server, and it would be introduced to new members as a defining ideology of 764. At times, though, it became much more than just an ideology, such as this case where the Brazilian police arrested a 764 group who was planning an attack on a Lady Gaga concert. This took place in Rio de Janeiro, and allegedly, one of the members of the splinter group was planning a, quote, satanic human sacrifice of a child or
in 2025, right? Just, last year.
Which was to happen during the concert. They were found to be in possession of illegal firearms and also wanted to use explosives in their terror attack. One of the members of the group was also charged with live streaming a separate attack on a homeless man. According to the police, he started a live stream in the 764 server, recording the entire incident. He approached the man who appeared to be sleeping on the sidewalk, and then he hit him with 2 Molotov cocktails. Police seized the phones of all the members of this group, and allegedly also found a lot of CSAM, CP, and other illegal and disgusting content.
Look, I'm gonna leave it right there because it goes on and it gets worse and worse, and that's a rabbit hole you don't want to go down, but you need to be aware. But there is an answer. I'm gonna take it back to Jack Hibbs and Chris McKenna because what they say right here is the key to defeating all this.
But if I could point us to the word for just a minute, honestly, Pastor Jack, there's nothing new under the sun here. We know this, right? So I want to read, and I know a lot of you know these verses, but I want to put them in the context here of technology. Deuteronomy 6, 5 through 9. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, right? Jesus refers to these words again. We know how significant they are. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road and when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates. And
that right there, what you heard in Deuteronomy is the #1 commandment, to love the Lord God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. He wanted us to know that so much that he said, tie that to your arm and bind that to your forehead, right? And it's not what the Jewish people think. They actually tie a box around their head and tie a box around their arm with the scrolls inside of it. That's not what he meant. Bind that in your forehead. He wanted that cemented in your mind to remember that law, right? And then teach that to your kids, right? Teach that to your kids so they grow spiritually, so they start seeking God. If they love God, they will seek God. Then they can have that protection from God and have that discernment to be spiritually aware when all these evil things come around them, right? Let's let Jack Hibbs end this.
more consistent.
I'll add this. Paul said, finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of a good report, if there is any virtue, if there's anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah. Paul knew the iPad was coming.
He knew.
And we need to think. We needed to think about things that, right? I mean,
I see what he's saying, right? Paul didn't know an actual physical, literal iPad was coming down the line in the future, but he did know an evil was coming. He knew an evil was coming and an evil was there, right? And he wanted us to keep our mind focused on the good, keep our mind focused on the holy, the same way we should teach our kids to, right? And this is coming from Paul, the supreme scholar of the day, right? You wanted to know about Christ and Christ theology. You know, Paul was the man. That's who you go to, right? So we need to take these words serious. We need to teach our kids, you know, as much as we've learned, right? And hopefully one day they know better, right? But if we teach them to love God with their hearts, and we teach them to keep nothing but good thoughts on their mind, right? And keep God on their mind, then they're going to be more aware when they come across these situations, right? You know, God forbid that it's your kid or your niece or your nephew that's being exposed to all this stuff, right? But if they are, we need to be there. We need to make sure that they know. We need to make sure that when the time comes and our kids run into it could be anything, right? Any type of witchcraft, any type of evil, just somebody speaking something that they know in their heart, they have the discernment to know that it's wrong. They need to be able to do that. So with that being said, I'm going to end it right there. I hope y'all made it to the end of this video. I know it was a long one, but I felt like it was important. So if y'all like the video, I mean, that's a hard video to like, right? But if y'all got something from this, you know, please give a like. Go ahead and comment down at the bottom. Let me know what y'all think. Subscribe if you like. Pray for me. I'll be praying for y'all. I love y'all. I'm out.